I'm a big fan of Big Finish. So I want to ask you, when you were, I guess, contacted in '99 to come back to play that role, was there any hesitation for you reprising that role?
Oh, none whatsoever. No. I mean, I was aware, but I wasn't aware at the time, I don't think, because I'm a very basically trusting sort of person. And when the script came along for all my Doctor Who's, it was a Doctor Who script. And I didn't try and change it, or I gather previous Doctors, Tom in particular, virtually rewrote them.
Tom and Patrick Troughton both, actually.
Yeah. I came from a different kind of school of acting where the writer does the writing and the actor does the acting. And so with the exception of the odd word here and there, I pretty much said what was written by the writer. And I thought at the time, yeah, they were good stories. It's only since I've done Big Finish I realised that they fade a little in comparison with most of the Big Finish output. The writing in those is phenomenal.
Yes.
But I didn't know that when I said I would do it. But I just wanted old Sixie, as I call him, to have a little more life than he got. And we've reached a point, certainly before Tom finally relented and decided he might do some Big Finish after all. I had done more Doctor Who stories than any other actor, which I was quite pleased about. My old Sixie has climbed above the parapet and is there now as part of the...
Well, you got voted Best Doctor on Audio, I believe, in 2002.
I did. And I'm singly touched by that honour, but I'm not a great favour of fan polls, of bests and... okay, I suppose favourites will do, one favourite. But when you've got a poll that asks you to list from 1 to 13, is it now, Doctors we've got?
Including John Hurt, yeah.
I just think that's cruel to number 13, and number 12, usually me. Well, it's true. Polls are, if you choose to have your favourite, okay, David Tennant, let's say, then fair enough. The other 12 go, oh well, you know, at least we weren't last. Well, no, we don't know we're last. But I noticed that, because I had a well-publicised spat with the Doctor Who magazine about that, and I noticed that last year they had a last season's Best Writer poll.
Yes.
And they listed the writers from the previous season, 1 to 7, I think, and there was a 7th best. And they're saying it's not worst, it's 7th best. No, it's not. There's 7 people, and one's best, the bottom one is worst. By definition. Or the top one is least worst. I just think it's unkind. I think it's lazy journalism. It's a good way of filling up some pages and involving the fans, but you can involve fans in other ways than making them choose between. I struggle. I mean, I always say Patrick Troughton because of the effect of what he did.
Yes.
But not because he was. I think every single Doctor, obviously I can't be objective about myself, but every other Doctor has produced a remarkably good Doctor. I think any actor in the world could play the Doctor. Some for 1 episode, perfectly well, others for 100, perfectly well, should they wish to. I just think it's a character that's so interesting that you can bring anything to it. But anyway, yes, Big Finish. The scripts kept coming, mostly written by people who had been fans of Doctor Who when I was doing it.
Right, and people who've gone on to work on the new series, Robert Sherman, for example. Robert
Sherman's wonderful. And he wrote that Dalek story.
Jubilee, which is the inspiration for Christopher Eccleston's first Dalek episode.
And I much prefer my version. Not because of me and Christopher Eccleston, because of the story. In my story, I was compassionate about the last lone Dalek, the insane, trapped, manacled Dalek. The Doctor had compassion. And in the Eccleston, he was called upon to be angry with this poor trapped creature, even though it turned out to be bad, and he was right. Nonetheless, I prefer coming at it from an angle of compassion rather than anger.
There are two very different stories as well.
Yeah.
Which I think, once again, context is everything.
But it was basically, the framework was the same.
Yeah, took this basic idea and transplanted it.
Yeah.
The story is called Jubilee. You can find it on the Big Finish site for all of $2.99.
Now, I've been asked this weekend by several people who've never seen Big Finish. They don't know how to get onto it. This is your chance where I drink this to tell them.
Because I don't do a podcast or anything about them.
Well, they don't all know that. You tell them.
Right. For Colin, I highly recommend a story called Whispers of Terror from very
Start
early.
with how you do it.
BigFinish.com.
Okay, what do you do then?
Okay. You can actually, the first 50 main range releases are now $2.99. There's about a dozen and a half stories with Colin. There's a really good story early on called Whispers of Terror. There's also a story called The American Conspiracy,
yes,
which introduces the character of Evelyn Smythe, the history professor played by the late...
She was wonderful. I loved Evelyn.
The Holy Terror, written by Rob Sherman, which actually features the character of Frobisher from the DWM comic that we were talking about earlier, and Jubilee as well, as we were just talking about. And they're all $2.99 on download.
Interestingly, Frobisher, the Frobisher stories apparently sold less than the others because some fans out there don't see Frobisher as canon. He's not from the television series. I love Frobisher because he was in a comic book in the magazine, wasn't he?
Yes,
that's where he came from.
He's a shape-shifting penguin, which might be part of the problem.
Yeah, a wisecracking American penguin.
Yes, he's a private eye, we should say.
I mean, he's a great character, and he kind of works so well with my doctor because it can't deal with this random creature. I mean, he's a penguin for much the same reason as the TARDIS is a police box.
Yes. All right, let's open up to some questions from the audience. So.
You choose, I don't want to get hated.
Well, I'm going to let Mr. Johnson over there choose. So, everybody, hate him.
Mr. Johnson, say hello to everybody.
Hello. Thank you. They're cool, aren't they?
Everyone over the weekend must go up and kiss Mr. Johnson.
I'll start them for $5 a kiss. Then we can bring it back next year.
Colin, there's no arguing you've been a massive champion of Doctor Who, especially continuing with Big Finish. It was interesting that at about the same time that you did the final adventure and sort of brought the Sixth Doctor story to a close, we also got Crisscross, which seemed to reboot the Sixth Doctor story, brand new companion, Constance. That was a marvelous, marvelous episode and a marvelous kickoff point, a great start for folks who might be interested in getting into the new episodes. But tell us a little bit about working with Miranda and where things might be headed from there.
Yeah, it was quite timely that happened because I finally recorded, because I've been reluctant to do it, because I was just being a bit bullshit, the regeneration episode. But I have great, great faith in Nick Briggs as a writer, as a person, as a producer, and I knew he'd do a really good job of it, and that I agreed. And the amount of people who said, I hear you're not doing Big Finish anymore. Why? Well, you died. So have all the other doctors.
To be fair, when you put a box set out called The Last Adventure...
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of the name of another story now, but... yeah, but logically, why would I stop doing it? You know, because the timeline of the Doctor is different from the timeline of Big Finish stories.
Right.
Anyway, so they gave me this new, hideously ugly companion, Miranda Raisin, who's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Why they've let me anywhere near her, I've no idea. But she's delightful, and she plays a wartime...
she's a Wren, I think.
Wren or she's a Wren, isn't she?
Yeah, works at Bletchley Park.
Correct. She's a code breaker at Bletchley Park. I'm glad you're there.
I am nerd, hear me born.
And it's another one of those intriguing relationships because we don't know quite. She has a husband that she wants to get back to and find out what's happened. And I gather I'm doing a story a new one in August, and I think that's on the cards as part of it. And also, I probably haven't told you that Flip will be coming back as well. You didn't hear that from me.
It's only on recording, sir.
Good. In the same story. So that'll be interesting. But she's lovely to work with. And the stories continue to be so good. I've never actually finished reading a Big Finish story on my laptop at home without going, another good one. And it's just, it's remarkable when you consider how greedy a medium it is, because, you know, people buy it, listen to it in 2 hours, want another one please. And now they're broadening the range, of course, because they're doing The Survivors, which was a TV series in Britain in the 70s?
In the 70s, created by Terry Nation.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Terry Nation. And they've got some of the original cast of that. And everyone says that Survivors is brilliant. But, I mean, start saving your money, because once you dip into Big Finish, then there's an awful lot of stuff there. And I listen to my stories, because they're fully dramatised, 4 half-hour stories usually, in exactly the same format as television, without the pictures. And the sound build that they do on them is infinitely superior to anything the BBC can do, because they won't invest the time that Big Finish spend in the post-production. And I usually listen to my stories about 2 years after I've done them, in the car when I'm driving off somewhere, and I time it where I know I've got 2 hours drive, and I will listen to a Big Finish, and because I do so many of them, I always forget the story, completely forgotten. And so I'm riveted like the rest of you too. How am I going to get out of this? Which is lovely to be able to hear them afresh.
Okay, we have a lady with a question right here.
Yes. As a lawyer, did you win many cases? And if not, is that what led you to acting?
Would you like to plead the fifth, as we Americans say?
The law system in Britain is different to that of America. We have solicitors and we have barristers. Barristers are the guys who stand up in court. It's a bit like the difference, I don't know whether you have this in your medical profession, between a general practitioner and a specialist.
Yeah.
The barristers are the specialists. So you'll go to the office of a solicitor, they're all lawyers, but the solicitor is that kind of lawyer. He's the one who makes your will, who helps you sell your house, does all that kind of law, company law, tax law. If you have a court case, he will prepare everything and then hand it to a barrister whose specialty is that area of the law. So I wasn't doing that. So I never actually stood up and, ooh, are they trying to tell us something? Wow. Is it nice like that? No bad behaviour at the back. Just because it's dark, behave yourselves. So I had some interesting times, and I got, you know, I really should write a book before I fall off the perch, because there's some good stories to tell about my days doing law, and it does mean that I can read a contract when I get one, and I know where to put the pencil through, and or to rewrite. And you know, it happens so often that even though it's now 40 years since I was doing the law, I'll get a contract which is gibberish, and I have to rewrite it. And then they say, well, we've always used this one. Well, you shouldn't, because this and this can happen. Oh yeah. It's like the small print of anything. You know, when you log on to something. Hands up, anybody here who reads the stuff, you tick the box saying, I have read the terms and conditions. Who reads them all? No. Ah, the hand went down. You read them all.
Always.
Wow. And have you ever not signed
I'm a
up?
producer and director. I always read them.
Reading's fun.
That's my girl.
But that one where you apply for a credit card or something?
Always.
Yeah, you have to read those.
Always.
Wow. I want you on my side.
That's why I'm on my side.
But anything to do with my career, I read very carefully. But all those things, you know, that you do. And nowadays, I'm sorry, I'm off on a tangent here. I don't know if the same in America, but in Britain, when you think, oh, I want to buy that table tennis table that I bought recently, and then you go all the way through to paying bit, and then they say, we need your name, your date of birth, and if you don't give it, you can't buy it. That's infuriating.
They have that here too.
Yep.
Yep.
And what do you do then?
Don't get it?
Yeah, go to a shop and buy one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's all information gathering, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big threat to the world at the moment, I think. And don't get me on TTIP. Do you know about that? Yeah. We might have a talk later.
I'll be over at you, bit.
I think we have a question over here.
I am particularly fond of England as a companion, and
Yeah.
I was wondering that, do you have a favorite part of the story? Because I felt all of it was something we're really missing in the new series.
I was, what's she called? Arrangements for War, I think is the story, when she leaves me. I'm afraid I got quite emotional listening to it. When you're doing it, you're doing a job, so, you know. But when I listened to it in my car, driving somewhere, and the couple on the bridge, I don't know if you remember the story. I won't spoil it, because most of you haven't heard it.
I do.
I was listening to it earlier this week, actually.
Were you?
Yeah, I was. It's excellent. Yeah, that last scene is.
Yeah, it's such a, and that's the opportunity I've been given by Big Finish, which is to allow old Sixie to be seen for what he is, not for what he appeared to be as a result of the short TV series.
I feel that's something that the newer doctors miss, having a companion that really lets you see who they are and not who they confront.
Yeah, it's the dilemma that companions have. The companion, to be honest, is there on television, certainly, in order for someone to be able to ask the doctor questions, or to argue with him, or to do something silly, or to provide an alternative storyline. So you don't have just one continuing story, but you know, the companion gets separated from the doctor, so different things can happen. And if that companion is the intellectual equal of the doctor, as Evelyn was, it makes it a lot more interesting. It was good. I've been very lucky with all my companions, actually, because they've all brought something to the table that helps unpeel the many layers that surrounded old Sixie. Hello, are you a centurion? Roman, yeah.
What? In Scavenger, the final part, what happened to Flip?
Well, you know, I'd like to know that as well. It's a question I have been asking Big Finish, and they've gone, wait and see. You will find out that the story I'm recording in August, you'll find out what happened to Flip. I don't know yet.
I just want to say, you're not my least favorite. I can't pick one. I love all the doctors for all the different things. You know, it's like picking a child. You know, you can't pick a favorite child.
Exactly, that's what I say. Which is your favourite?
Yeah, the main thing about old Sixie, as you say, is the ego. Like, it's like Peter Capaldi has done. He's brought back the attitude, you know. And you did that. I liked Davidson, but he was just so quiet.
Every 6 doctors, they get it right. I haven't seen most of it. It's the anniversary of Capaldi. I've recorded them all, but I haven't seen them yet. And I'm waiting to see what I'm hearing. I like the sound of.
First of all, hello, Sparta.
Hi there.
Many years ago, at a sci-fi convention up in Georgia, I met the great late Anthony Ailey, known as the Master.
Oh, wow.
I asked him about a question and said that since you got exterminated from the Doctor Who series, I asked him, how do you feel about it? He said, you're not going to like this, I feel tall.
Tall?
Tall.
Like tall?
That tall.
Did he? He was always a bit strange, actually.
But I want to know, what's it like working with him and with Anthony Ailey during that time?
I didn't work with the Master enough, because I think the Master has been an underused character for a long while, because I think the interesting relationships are the ones between equals. So, you know, you've got Holmes and Moriarty, you've got, who else is there? Batman and the Joker, Lex Luthor and Superman. You know, the one implacable enemy, which is the Master. I gather that he's back in a female form now.
Yep.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
No spoilers there, which is quite right too. I mean, Time Lords, there must be some Time Ladies out there, and why, when they regenerate, everything changes except that. I don't understand, but there you are. Anthony wasn't easy to work with. He was a very nice man, but he invested a lot of himself into that character. That was really all he wanted to do, play the Master. He wasn't interested in playing anything else.
I've heard he even had his answering machine set up as him playing the Master as the answering machine.
Yes, he did. And in order to remain grounded in this business, if you come into my house, you will that we have a downstairs toilet, and inside the downstairs toilet is shelves and some pictures on the wall, and that's the only place you'll see anything remotely Doctor Who in my house. It's all, you can sit and look and contemplate the world if you want to. But some people have their house full of memorabilia, and, well, my wife wouldn't tolerate that for a second, so I'm very lucky there. But I've no desire to either. You know, that's a part of my life which is separate from my home. But for Anthony, and there's nothing wrong with this, it kind of was, apart from playing cricket, it was all of his life. And I feel unkind saying this, but I'm going to share it with you. He's no longer with us. He wore a wig, Anthony. And everyone knew he wore a wig. We could tell he wore a wig. But you don't say anything. You don't say, you're wearing a wig. Because he clearly didn't want us to know he was wearing a wig. So when he sat in the makeup chair, they used to pull a curtain round him, take his wig off, and put on his Master wig. And they'd open the curtain again, because he didn't want people to know that. So there was something rather protective about him. And maybe I shouldn't have told that story, I don't know, but it helps to explain the enigma that he was an unsure man. He thought that there was a conspiracy against him. He said a lot of nasty things about John Nathan Turner at conventions, about John Nathan Turner lining his pocket at the expense of the actors, and which wasn't true. I knew John, and John never really got drawn into a debate about it. He just avoided being with Anthony, which is a shame, because his performance in front of the camera as the Master was superb, as was the great Mr. Delgado, whose Master I thought was fantastic. And he used to give sweets to people. Anthony Ailey, if he was here today, he'd be throwing sweets out into the audience. I won't do that. If I got sweets, I'm having them.
I think we have another question right here.
Hello.
Hello! Where have you been all day?
Right over there.
We've been waiting for you, haven't we?
Yes.
What's your name?
Will.
Will? Everybody, if you see Will in the corridor, you have to say, hi, Will.
Hi.
you said earlier you were a bit of a comic book geek, proto-geek, I guess?
As a kid, yeah, not now.
Yeah. But I'm a bit of a science geek, and I was curious if science has ever interested you or influenced you specifically in your role as a doctor or in any other way.
Yeah, do you know, I think it's a regret of mine that when I was of an age where you chose what subjects you did at school, I loved language. So I was kind of an English nut. And then other languages interested me too. So I did all the languages I could, which were Latin, French and Greek. And that was what I studied to the age of 18 mainly. So science I didn't study from the age of 13 at all. No chemistry, no science, no physics, nothing. And it is a regret, because I was going around your magnificent NASA exhibit here. I mean, really, I've done the Houston one, which was good, but this is so much better. Because it's so kind of user-friendly, and there's something for everybody, for kids, it's not just the hardware, that's great, but all the information they give isn't sterile and dry. It's a really good museum, right? Of all museums I've ever been to, I put that quite high up the list of brilliantly designed. And we were privileged, we had a nice tour yesterday. And I just wish I could understand more than I do. And if I had a brain that could accommodate the distances involved, there's a timeline, have you been to the NASA? There's a timeline around the wall of reducing known time to a year. So,
oh, yeah, the cosmic calendar.
Yeah. So it starts off with, the Big Bang, and then you get January, February, March, and then this starts happening in April, May. Nothing much is going on for the first half of recorded time. And you get, I think America's been in existence for less than a second in terms of...
All of human history can be summed up in 14 seconds.
Yeah. Go on then.
I was talking about the calendar.
Oh, I see.
Where's sorry. When we need him?
Yes, human history is right at the end of that. Sorry, yes, I wasn't willfully misunderstanding that. And it's just extraordinary. And the fact that there are people, maybe some of you are here, who actually understand pulsars and neutron stars and black holes and dark matter. Do you understand dark matter?
No, nobody understands dark
But I can't even understand not understanding dark matter. I just find it no wonder we struggle to invent or create reasons for all this. But the time and the distances, and the fact that we're looking at things that aren't there now and haven't been there for billions of years, or somewhere quite different, or heaven knows what's out there now. There might be a huge TARDIS sitting where Alpha Centauri used to be, but we won't know about it for another 1,000 years because of the time it takes for light to travel. And I'm so desperate for humanity to realise that our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, let's say, may well need another planet. And we've got to start looking for one pretty soon. Otherwise, we are condemning future generations to a shriveled husk that we have plundered and destroyed. Sorry, serious note. And when you think of all the benefits, I'm sure some of them are slightly fanciful, but most of them are genuine, that humanity has had as byproducts of space exploration.
Thank you.
All those things around the wall that wouldn't exist had we not tried to get to the moon.